I don't want to come off like a victim in some way. I kept who I was a secret for a really long time. I hid behind an alter ego.
Today's secret word is fun.
I want kids to learn, not only is being different okay, let's celebrate it, but I want that not just for you, but for myself.
Pee-wee as himself explores the life and career of actor Paul Reubens. Matt Wolf directed and produced the new 2-part documentary on HBO.
Matt spent 40 hours interviewing Reubens. Unfortunately, his subject never got to see the finished product. Paul Reubens died July 30th, 2023. He had been fighting cancer for years, but mostly kept it to himself. And Matt joins us now. Good morning.
Hi, how are you?
We're doing great. Matt, I got to say, I watched this documentary. I saw part one. I'm in the middle of part two and was absolutely blown away at how good this is and how you were able to capture this man, this character. And I think what struck me most was how organic this was from the very beginning. So talking to him for 40 hours, did you find it hard for him to open up about the early stages of his career?
You know, Paul was comfortable talking about his career. He was less comfortable talking about himself. For, almost his entire adult life, Paul created a strict separation between himself and his alter ego. And in a lot of ways, that served him well because people really believed that Pee-wee Herman was a real person.
I know he certainly did. My brother, my family and I, we were obsessed with Pee-wee Herman. And yet in the documentary, it didn't seem like you had a hard time getting him to open up. I mean, did you find that he was uncomfortable, that he was not willing to give the information about all the tough times in his life as well?
Well, Paul had a lot of reservations about sharing his personal story in the documentary. I spent hundreds of hours speaking to him on Zoom and FaceTime prior to him sitting in that interview chair for over 40 hours. And during that interview, he often was quite rebellious and resistant to answering questions the way I am right now. But that kind of interstitial stuff of him rebelling or kind of resisting, that became an important part of the film. I wanted to show Paul wrestling with himself on how much of his private life he was really willing to share.
And he never shared with you that he was battling cancer. And did he cut off contact with you for about a year after these interviews? Explain what happened.
Paul, by his own admission, was very controlling. He's someone who lost control of his personal narrative in the media. So the whole project of doing a documentary was very anxiety-provoking for him, at the least. And we kind of kept moving ahead, sometimes with conflict, but as successfully as we could. And we reached an impasse. Paul wanted to have more editorial control than he had been promised. And the project was at a standstill. I didn't know if it would be completed, but unbeknownst to me, there were other things going on behind the scenes, specifically his health. I had no idea that Paul had been battling cancer.
Wow.
And for people who haven't seen this, and again, I highly recommend it, what do you think was the most difficult chapter for him to talk about?
You know, I think Paul coming out as gay was the most challenging part for him. Paul was somebody who was very out during art school, and then he went back in the closet so he could focus on his career. And he was right. As an openly gay person in the 1980s, he wouldn't have thrived in mainstream Hollywood. But that was something he kept close to himself for his entire adult life. And he had made the decision he wanted to come out when we started to make the film, but it was very difficult for him.
For people now, explain how big of a character Pee-wee Herman was, and he never broke character in all of his appearances. I mean, I don't think people have a concept of how huge this was.
I know. I think that's something that's interesting to try to convey in the film and now in the discussion of it is that Pee-wee Herman was so famous in the 1980s. He really became a touchstone in popular culture. And it's sort of hard to understand in an era before the internet what it looked like to be viral, but Pee-wee Herman was a viral creation.
It was amazing to see just how much of the character he came up with himself. I mean, all of it. I mean, from the stage productions early on in college, and then the stage show that later developed over the years. How did you have so much access to all those clips behind the scenes and as he was growing up and as he was developing the character?
Well, this may or may not come as a surprise, but Paul saved everything. He saved recordings of all of his early performances, of all of his television appearances. The vast majority of archival footage in that film comes from Paul's archives, which he had stored methodically in his closet in his bedroom for decades.
Wow. And what was did he regret that this character became him and he became this character, and that there was no separation there and he really couldn't branch off from this?
I don't think he regretted it. It was by design. I think what's so difficult is when that backfired. After Paul was arrested in 1991 and accused of indecent exposure at an adult movie theater in Sarasota, Florida, that separation collapsed. Suddenly, the world met Paul Rubens through his scary mugshot.
Yeah.
And Matt, I mean, describe your final conversations with him. I mean, obviously, he knew that this was being made, but did he ever, was your relationship strained as you were finishing the project?
Yes, our relationship was strained, but we had come to reach an agreement in how to move forward. And I had a conversation with Paul before he passed away in which I understood that something was wrong, but that he was excited to proceed with the film, and he gave me his blessing. But I didn't understand the gravity of the situation. So I'm grateful that I was able to speak to Paul before he passed away. He did see 45 minutes of the film in progress as a way to try to convince him to continue working on it. But I had clarity that he wanted me to finish. And the day before he died, he recorded audio for the film, which is in there.
Well, again, congratulations. I'm not the film critic, Dean Richards, though, but he's in studio. He says it's fantastic as well. So it is phenomenal. Congrats on such an amazing piece of work. Pee-wee is, as himself, currently streaming on HBO. You can check out Matt Wolf on his sites and on the socials. Thanks so much, Matt.
Thanks, Matt.
Thank you for having me.